Susie Creek, Elko County, Nevada, 1989. A gravel bed, barely a trickle, no vegetation, no wildlife. Nevada is the driest state in the United States, about 9.5 inches of rain per year. It's the kind of place where rivers don't recover. And then, sometime around 1989, a handful of beavers showed up. Nobody planned it, nobody paid for it. Over the next few years, that dead-looking creek turned into a green ribbon that stayed wet through droughts. And Susie Creek isn't the only place where this happened. In Idaho, the US deliberately released just 5 beavers into a dead desert river, and the change was so dramatic that NASA pointed its satellites at the valley to measure it. So how did a few animals rewrite these rivers badly enough that you can see the difference from space? In 1990, John Griggs was blowing up beaver dams with dynamite. Griggs is a rancher in Elko County. At the time, he had what seemed like a reasonable position. Beavers were flooding his pastures and making a nuisance of themselves. So he did what ranchers across the American West had done for generations. He removed them, forcibly. On one creek running through his ranch, he blew the dams apart. On another, Susie Creek, the beavers held on. Today, John Griggs is the president of the Nevada's Cattlemen's Association and one of the loudest advocates for beaver reintroduction in the American West. What changed his mind wasn't a study or a government program, it was a drought. A 4-year regional drought hit Elko County in the early 1990s. Neighboring streams ran dry. Ranchers all around Griggs were trucking water in for their cattle. Expensive, exhausting, unsustainable. Griggs watched his pastures stay green. His creek kept flowing through all 4 years, and when he traced it back, when he actually looked at what was different about his land, the answer was the beavers. The ones he hadn't managed to blow up had stayed, and they had built something. Here's the simple version. Beaver dams don't just block water, they push it underground, where it stores slowly and feeds the creek for months after the last raindrop fell. The neighbors trucked water. Griggs didn't. The man who used dynamite in 1990 now tells other ranchers to put it down. The results, as he found out the hard way, are only now being measured at scale. Here's what Griggs figured out in his own words. A healthy creek is not just the water you can see, it's also a big sponge of water beneath it that hydrates the whole floodplain. The mechanism is straightforward. When a beaver builds a dam, water slows. It spreads laterally across the floodplain, seeps into the soil, and pushes underground, filling a slow-release aquifer buried beneath the stream bed that feeds the surface creek through months of dry weather. Think of it like charging a battery in spring. It fills up, then slowly releases all summer, even when it hasn't rained in weeks. But here's where it gets strange. You'd assume that standing water in the middle of a desert would get warmer, not cooler. More sun exposure, shallower flow, that's the logical prediction. Researchers studying beaver ponds in the Pacific Northwest found the opposite. Beaver ponds measurably cooled water below the surface temperature of free-flowing sections of the same river.